last week I told you guys that I was going to tell you the story about the bike when I ended up bringing it home. So here's what happened. When I got the bike, the guy that sold me the bike was like, "Yeah, there's no problems with the bike. It's a great bike and everything." And I was like, "Cool." I took it on a quick test drive. It was a little dry, like it hadn't really been raining in that area when I took it on a test drive. And that's an important part of this story. Remember that part. But I took it on a quick test drive. I didn't get into it or anything, didn't really know much about it. Mostly I was just trying to get comfortable on the bike because this is the very first sport bike I'd ever even bought. I never even thought I would buy a sport bike ever. So for me, I'm just like, you know, I'm going to get on it a bit, 5,000 RPM. Yeah, I'm getting on it. No, I wasn't. But that's not the point. The point is it was dry. It worked fine. I was like, it's not as fast as I expected it to be, but maybe I'm missing something, whatever. I'll take it. So I ended up getting the bike because it was a pretty good price, and then it started to rain. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be riding it in the rain. No big deal. So I go to get on the freeway. Actually, where it was not a freeway. It was a highway that merged onto the freeway, which again is pretty important to this story. But it started to rain. There was a puddle. I drove, and it wasn't even really a puddle. It was just there was water on the road. It was enough to get the spray on the tire going. The bike dies. I'm like, you're kidding me. I just spent a bunch of money on this bike, and I made it a mile, and it died. I called the guy up, and I was like, you didn't just sell me a lemon, did you? And he's like, no, that bike ran perfectly fine. And I was freaking out. I thought this guy sold me a lemon. Luckily, he got in his car and he came right to where I was, and he helped me figure out the problem. The problem is on the driver's side of the bike, there's this little brick that's it's got all these different wires going through it. Well, it's got 4 spots and there's 3 wires, and then there's a 30 amp fuse in there, and that blew. Thank God, it's something simple. He was freaking out. I was freaking out because he needed the money for his family, and I didn't want to buy a lemon. So we figured it out. We got the fuse, and we were like, okay, it's working. It turned right on. Took a second to get it started. I'm not really sure why. Probably because the fuel pump hadn't been running, and I was in gear trying to get the thing to, jump start it or whatever, and it probably used all the fuel. Regardless, we got it running. Everything was fine, and then I put the fuse in. I didn't make it to the end of the on-ramp, and it died again. And I was like, oh, crap. This guy's gone at this point because, well, let's be honest, he did whatever he could do, and that's all you can really ask of anybody. But the point is he ended up, he had to go, and he was super helpful, and he actually did a pretty good job on the bike and everything, and I actually really appreciated him coming out and helping me in the first place. It's more than most would do. But he left. My friend behind me was, freaking out because we couldn't get anywhere. And I, luckily, was in a really congested part of town. It doesn't sound lucky, but there was an off-ramp right after the on-ramp. So this Ninja is 400 pounds. That's about half what my Harley weighs. So I'm like, oh, thank God it's not that heavy. I pushed this bike a mile to a gas station, and I'm just sitting there cursing this bike the whole way. I finally get to the gas station, pull up, put it down. I check the fuse. It's blown again. And water hit my hand, and I was like, wait a minute. And that's the light bulb moment right there. The water hit my hand. I looked. It came from that block. And I looked at the wire, and there was water in it because whoever had the bike before, I don't think it was that guy, but maybe the guy before him, because it was his first bike, and he'd only had it for a year maybe, and he'd never had any issues. There was electrical tape crappily wound up on that wire, and water was getting through there when it would splash off the tire, shorting out this fuse, causing all my problems. Well, this gas station I was at, a weird place. They didn't have electrical tape, but they had this weird tape that you put on your radiator hose to stop that from leaking. And I thought, well, that'll work. So I wrapped that around that after getting as much water out of it as I can, put a third fuse in it, started up, it works, it's raining. I'm like, oh, Don't you die on me again, because if you do, I don't know what to do. AAA, I'll fix it at home or something. I don't know. Luckily, I managed to get it working. I rode the thing from Idaho Falls to Pocatello, where I live, which is about 50 some miles. There's way too much construction going on the freeway, so I took the old highway running through towns. I would have anyway, because if that thing would have blown again, I would have needed another fuse. I had bought an extra fuse, but I figured if it was going to pop, it'd pop 2 or 3 fuses, and I'd need to keep stopping and buying more fuses. So that's what I did, and after I taped it up, I had 0 more issues. So I'm glad to have the bike. I'm glad it's working fine. Now that it's actually in my garage, I'm going to source a proper fix for it. Maybe the boots wore out. Maybe I can get a new one. Or I'll just leave it how it is. It seems to be working just fine. I don't know. But if you guys have had this issue and you know the proper fix, let me know, because it was honestly just a little roadside repair. But crazy story, right? Like, I don't even know. But hopefully if you're having that issue, or you watched this video and you bought a Ninja like a week later and you're remembering my voice right now, you're like, Casey's Garage had that problem. I can fix my bike now. Yes! By the way, carry a spare 30. There's a spot right on the outside of that, and that kind of gave me a hint that there was a fuse in there, because it doesn't quite look like there's a fuse in there. But luckily, we saw that and we were like, let's open that up. And we checked it out, and long story short, it's amazing how much havoc a fuse can cause you. But if the fuse wouldn't have popped and the water would have been in there, I can only imagine the crazy things that would have happened to the electrical system on the bike. So I'm glad I got the bike home, and I will be making more videos on it as we go on. I wish I would have brought my camera with me when I went on that ride. That would have been a crazy experience for you guys to watch. Like I literally had this bike for a mile, pushing it on the sidewalk and in the rain, 45-degree weather, pushing this bike, and people were looking at me like I was crazy, and I don't blame them. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like, comment below what you would have done differently, or if you would have brought a trailer with you to buy the bike, or whatever you would have done. And subscribe for more videos. And you guys have a great day.